symbol of law and order. And, it's got quite a history, frankly. Yeah. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
The former prison is on a California island off San Francisco and has been closed since 1963. The president also announced he's authorized officials to put a 100% tariff on foreign films. On his Truth Social platform, the president says countries are offering incentives drawing movie production out of the U.S. He says the films threaten national security and can include propaganda. The conclave to elect the next pope will be the most geographically diverse. A total of 133 cardinals from 71 countries will be entering the Sistine Chapel to cast their vote. A two-thirds majority is needed to be elected pope. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Buddy Hield had 33 points and Stephen Curry added 22 as the 7th-seeded Warriors grounded the 2nd-seeded Rockets 103-89 on the road in Game 7 to win their first-round Western Conference playoff series. Golden State coach Steve Kerr.
Game 7 on the road. If you don't bring it, you're going home, and our guys brought it.
In the East, the Pacers shocked the top-seeded Cavaliers 121-112 on the road in Game 1 of their second-round series. Stanley Cup playoffs, the Jets overcame a 2-goal deficit in the final 2 minutes of regulation as Adam Lowry's tip-in at 16:10 of double overtime sealed a 4-3 win over the Blues in the third-longest Game 7 in NHL history. And Scottie Scheffler matched the PGA Tour 72-hole scoring record with a closing 63 to finish 31 under par in an 8-shot win at the Byron Nelson.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, skies will become mostly sunny with a high into the lower 60s. Southeast winds of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 47. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high of 73 degrees. Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high around 67. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 48. At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Teachers are dynamic leaders shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. They're skilled experts, discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, leading by example. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org, supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and welcome to the May 5th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. Is that camera? Is that okay? Is it good? All right. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and, of course, YouTube and iHeartRadio as well. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and catch me on Substack. I'll probably be posting something again this week. Most definitely have a lot to post. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, short versions and long versions. Joan Esposito live, local and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. Out Chicago, my man Scott Duff, and our other shows and interviews. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform and make sure you are sharing all the good items that we have there. On today's show, our guest will include Illinois State Representative Harry Benton from the 97th District, talking about child care bills. We'll get into that, and then and that's in the 7 o'clock hour. In the 7:30 hour, we'll be talking with political strategist Mike Nellis. And I'll be taking your calls this morning, of course, when we get kind of into the 6:30 hour. So make sure you reach out to us. I know you guys have a lot to say from the weekend and all that that took place. We'll be talking in terms of topics today. Always want to hear from you guys about what do you think the National Democrats need to be focused on? What are you doing to make your life count? We're keeping that as a conversation because I know that everybody has something to say in those two spaces. We'll chat a little bit about our 20th anniversary celebration this Saturday up at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. A question that I'll throw out to you guys. I got this question actually from someone that follows our show. I'm not sure if they're a local listener or a regional listener, but someone that, or somewhere else in the country. But one of the questions that came my way over the weekend is, Richard, why aren't more people of color protesting, out protesting is what it said. Why aren't more people of color out protesting, given that policies and issues and executive orders are going to affect them the most? And I'm curious what you guys may think in that space. So when you call in, if you call in, what are your thoughts about that? I have my own, and I have my own observations on that subject. But I thought it would be a good question to ask you guys to see what you think. We got a number of clips and topics that we're going to work our way through. Some things that popped my way that I think you guys should be aware of, and we'll get into it. And some really great leadership from governors in other states that we'll share with you in a couple of clips that we have. So, guys, let's get it started. It's Monday morning, and it's good to be back. Make sure today, Live, Local, and Progressive, you're tuning into Joan. She'll be taking your calls and talking to Paul Rosenweig, founder of Red Branch Consulting, PLLC, and senior advisor to the Chertoff Group. Former Illinois Governor Pat Quinn, Sean Kitchen of the Keystone Courier Newsroom covering Pennsylvania, and Alyssa Kaplan, executive director of Reform Illinois. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT. And we know Progressive Talk for 20 years. Tomorrow on the show, I'll be talking to Kristen Krall of Fair Share America and Dave Barry, the Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and author of Class Clown, Memoirs of a Professional Wise Ass, which comes out next week. So it'll be great to talk with Dave tomorrow. And make sure you're checking out, you know who, Patty Vasquez, driving it home, driving you home, driving them home. All right, guys. Let's go. Let's dive into our Choose Views news this morning, May 5th, 2025. Got a lot to talk about in this space. Warren Buffett is planning on retiring. You can believe that. Legendary investor Warren Buffett announces that he's intending on retiring at the end of this year, 2025, recommending Greg Abel to succeed him as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. The 94-year-old made the announcement at Berkshire's annual shareholders meeting, which draws crowds of executives to Omaha every year. Buffett, who has been at the helm for 6 decades, began the meeting by mounting a defense for global trade, saying, quote, should not be a weapon. Read between the lines. Global trade, i.e. tariffs, should not be a weapon. And that balanced trade is good for the world. Buffett is the largest shareholder of Berkshire and said he has no intention of selling his shares in the company. But yeah, Warren Buffett is hanging up his sneakers at the end of the year. Hiring in April held up. The economy added more jobs than expected in April, and what some economists say makes it less likely the Federal Reserve will lower interest rates when it meets next week. The first report since tariffs took effect, non-farm payrolls rose 177,000, down from a revised 185,000 in March, according to the Labor Department. The unemployment rate is unchanged at 4.2%. The looming impact of duties, along with massive federal layoffs and a rise in continuing jobless claims, may weigh on future hiring. Google's twofold monopoly problem is still there. Google continued to face monopoly headaches on two fronts last week. On Friday, the Department of Justice recommended the tech giant be forced to sell elements of its ad tech business as a remedy for its advertising monopoly. Google said it is open to sharing data with rivals, but claimed a forced divestiture would harm publishers and advertisers. Meanwhile, in the remedies trial for its search monopoly, Mozilla CFO Eric Moheim testified that proposed DOJ measures threaten to put search rival Firefox out of business. Driverless trucks are happening potentially in Texas. Aurora, the autonomous truck company, is testing its driverless heavy-duty trucks on public highways in Texas, according to Axios. The initial fleet will focus on well-known freight routes between Houston and Dallas. Other states, including California and Arkansas, are experimenting with automated trucks. McKinsey predicts they will make up 13% of the U.S. trucks by 2035. And Trump's leaning into this. He can't get himself redirected from Harvard, or is it Harlem University? Devin, as you guys may have seen, you know that you should look that up. I won't take any time right now, but Stephen A. Smith looked like a fool in that scenario because he didn't have the ability to correct Trump quickly. But anyhow, I digress. Harvard may lose its tax status. Donald Trump announced Friday that Harvard University, not Harlem University, will lose its coveted status as a tax-exempt university. However, according to Bloomberg, the path forward remains unclear as federal tax code prevents presidents from interfering with decisions made by the IRS. A lot of people don't know that. Donald says we're going to take it away. No, you got to understand how our government is set up. Without the exception, the Ivy League school based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, would be required to pay levies on its revenue. Harvard has been a flashpoint in the ongoing debate with the Trump administration. And Temu says, we're going to stop some shipments to the United States. It's no longer business as usual at Temu. The Boston-based bargain site, which is owned by Chinese e-commerce giant PDD Holdings, announced Friday that it would no longer send shipments from China to U.S. customers. The change comes as the U.S. ends the so-called de minimis loophole, a trade provision that exempted companies from duties on orders worth less than $800 for Chinese-made goods. The shift is part of Temu's ongoing adjustments to improve service levels, according to the company. So there you guys have it. A couple of Choose Views news items on this Monday, May 5th, 2025. We are going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
We have spoken before with Rich Logis, founder of Leaving MAGA. I want to talk to you more about your own personal journey, Rich. When did it finally reach a breaking point?
The final straw for me was May 24th, 2022. And that was the day of the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. And after that day, Joan, I quietly left MAGA. I only told a few people. When I did that, something was gnawing at me that wasn't enough. I was always very unapologetically public in my support for Trump. I felt that I needed to reciprocate, and I needed to be unapologetically public in my renunciation of MAGA. And it was on August 30th, 2022, when I published a mea culpa. And in that mea culpa, I said that I was wrong, that I hurt others, and that I was sorry that I supported Trump and MAGA.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
After my wife died, I felt like I lost everything, including my love of fishing. But one day, my granddaughter called, and I realized I still had a lot to look forward to. I got referred to a psychiatrist who explained depression can happen to anyone. Getting help doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger. I just wish it made me better at fishing.
Mental health care is working for Diego. See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
And welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So, guys, hit me with an answer to the question or your thoughts about why you think more people of color aren't protesting, out and about protesting. And I don't care who answers that question or who has an opinion on it. You don't have to be, a person of color, quote, but it's just someone. I'd like to hear what people are saying and what you're thinking in that space. I was asked that question, and I thought it would be fair to bring it to you guys. And that noise in the background was that I didn't silence my phone. I apologize. I thought I had, and I got distracted. Okay, so this is this past few days we had the memes of from the White House about Trump becoming Pope. I'll just say this: Democratic leaders, let them. Well, even more specifically, let the Catholic Church deal with that. I don't want to see people get distracted and been triggered by this. I know there's millions and millions of Catholics in this country that may have been offended by it. Hell, I'm not Catholic, but I was offended by it because it came from the White House. But let's not get distracted, okay? I just want to put that out. Don't get distracted by that, guys. All right? That's part of, we want to be more mindful of what they're doing to take away stuff. That's a distraction. It's never going to happen. And here's the number one reason why, and people may not necessarily agree with me on this, but look at the history. The Pope has always been of what particular faith, and a practicing one of that faith, Devin? What would that probably be? Catholic. So let's just start there in terms of checking the boxes. And it can happen. So don't waste time on that. Don't get too caught up and triggered by that. And I'm speaking to the everyday folk. Let the Catholic Church deal with that. Because the Catholic Church is pretty doggone good at dealing with certain things like that. They dropped the ball. They dropped the ball certainly when it comes to the conversation around, priests and their behavior. No question about that. We don't have to have an argument about that. But I think that the Catholic Church can deal with this Trump as Pope. Maybe as poop, but not as Pope. Made Devin laugh. All right. So when I talk about that, what comes back to mind, and we're going to talk a little bit about money and misuse of money and this whole waste, fraud, and abuse from a different perspective. But there's a clip that I wanted you guys to hear that Devin and I put together because it has to do with something that I think, we using this thing as Pope as a launching pad. The question around, how we're viewed right now, because we talk about this a lot in terms of our allies, how our allies are seeing us. We've got allies because of the tariffs that are they're kind of pulling back. We've got allies in terms of defense and security they're kind of saying, you know what, we may have to roll with ourselves for a while America figures out who the hell they are. And so I came across this clip that I thought was relevant to this conversation about what others in the world may see and think about the United States at this current time. So Devin and I put together this clip that you guys might enjoy hearing.
This question is for anybody who is not an American, anybody who is not in the United States. If you are in the United States and you want an answer to this question too, just a heart. Just give me a like. That way we know how many people want an answer to this. But do not comment if you are in the States. I want these comments reserved for anybody who is not an American, anybody who is not in the United States. Here's my question. What do you see? What do you see happening here? What is getting reported on about what is happening in the United States here? We need to know what you see, whether you're in Belgium or France or in Uganda or anywhere. I don't care if you're in China. Anywhere but the United States. What do you see getting reported about what's happening here? Please drop it in my comments. And then I would like to ask you a really important question. Since we here have decided to become 1930s Germany, Who out there is going to become our 1940s America and save us from ourselves?
I think it's a great question. I really do. When I came across this, I thought, okay, we've been listening. We've heard a number of people from Canada in terms of their elected leaders, and in Mexico in terms of their elected leaders, and folks from across the globe that have made various comments in terms of their speeches and such, that we've taken note of that and recognize that our allies are saying, come on, guys, this is not the country that we've been partnering with. And yeah, imperfections and all that, you know, but this isn't the country that we've been partnering with. And so I would say that even some of our moderate allies have probably went, holy moly, or some other, four-letter word. And to that end, I think it's a great question that we should be willing to hear the answer to. And this gentleman posted this, and I thought, yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit. And it can be part of our ongoing conversation. I'm curious. Now, that doesn't change the fact that the work that we have to do. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of work to do. We should be asking ourselves a question of that nature. But it is one of curiosity for me. What do folks in other countries that are not Americans think about what's going on right now in this very short period of time? You can go back to the election, or we could make the start date from the inauguration and come forward, these 100+ days. So I'll put it out there. Two ways of phrasing this. If you're not in the United States and you happen to be listening to this show that I'm posing this question, or others, but specifically this show, what are you seeing? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How are you being impressed by this? And I mean, in terms of how is it impressing upon you? One way of me positioning this question. The other is, if you are in the United States and you're listening to this show in any capacity, and you have friends from countries outside of the United States, and you've talked to them or you've communicated with them, what are they saying to you? I'm really curious. I don't want to make the assumption that folks are saying anything in particular. However, I am curious. If you have relationships with folks that live in other places outside of the United States, wherever it might be, family for that matter. But here's a good one. If you happen to be someone that's a first-generation immigrant to the United States, and you've got family home at your birth nation, or second generation, I should say, I'm curious, what are they saying to you? What questions might they be posing? And if you are willing to share it, I'd love to hear it. And you can text it to me, or you can call us here, or you can send me an email at richard@wcpt820.com. But I am genuinely curious about that. So bring it on so we can talk about that and have some context. Okay, I don't want to skip past this too quickly. We had a great Saturday event, which was our anniversary. And I really want to thank so many people. Our general manager, Mark Pensky, made a point, and he had several sheets of folks and names and people to thank. Some that are no longer part of the CPT family, some that still are, some that sounds silly, those that are and those that are not. But the most important thing that I can take away from what he did is how much how many folks are part of the history and that have been a contributor to the work that we're doing here. So kudos to so many people, so many names. It's easy to reach the regular names of folks that are on the air. Here, myself, Patty, Joan, Edwin, Scott and Ellen, Eric, Michelle, the list goes on. Jody, I can miss names. So I don't mean to do that. But it was really cool to see just the history. And this is one of those times when you want to know your history, the history lesson of knowing, kind of where you came from and how you built what you're currently, how you're currently living. So kudos to that part from Mark, but also to Matt, who was hobbling around and on his little wheelie, and Steve Lessman. The list goes on. Obviously, all of our technical people who were there and that were back here in the studio. I want to give my thanks to all of them. Devin, of course, who's here with me this morning, is always just a major road dog and keeping us in check. Henry, who was here in the station. The list goes on. Great folks, you guys. And whenever you get a chance, when you're when you call in, when you email, when you write, whatever, just, always give a shout out to the folks that are the backbone. Lady B, Paul, just great people that are dedicated to making sure that we stay strong. So, plus we had great folks there. The folks that showed up, you as listeners who came out, man, so many faces that I had seen, some I'd seen before, some I hadn't met yet, voices that I'd heard from those of you who called in and those who've sent me emails and text messages. Such a nice thing to have been a part of and had people there to thank us, but to also thank you. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Stratton for her call in, that we had a chance to talk with her, which was fantastic. Tom Hartman, who called in, professor. He likes it when I call him professor of everything progressive. It makes him chuckle, so I feel good about that. And then we had a chance to speak with Mayor Johnson, who was there live. Hal Sparks was the kickoff. Joan and Patty and I leaned in. Jill Wine-Banks was there. Scott. Again, I'm going to miss some names because there were so many people that's part of our Musical Tears event, but it was great. And it was a wonderful opportunity to see folks that you hadn't seen in a while, or to meet some of you guys that I may have never met, but have heard your voice, as I said. And it was also just a cool thing for people to be able to interact with themselves. I thought what was cool about it, beyond us that were broadcasting, is to see you guys who were there interacting with each other. And that, we had two of my favorites, Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 that made it. Karen Byrne made it. Natalie Ziemba, Councilwoman Natalie Ziemba, and guest on our show, made it. But there were so many other people that were there that got a chance to see folks that they may not have met, but they've heard their voices. And you as listeners, Dave from Hoffman Estates had never met Dave, had been talking to him for a couple of years from the family meeting and here and all that. And so got a chance to meet him, but he got a chance to meet other people. And so that was really, for me, a great takeaway, that folks who listen to the shows, plural, got to meet each other. And so what a nice way for us progressives to recognize who our community is. And that's the thing I want to wrap up on this segment with. I talk about community a lot, and not being in one silo. And Mayor Johnson spoke to this in terms of why it's important for us, not just here in Chicago or the suburbs in the state of Illinois, but throughout the country, that we regather, we reclaim our humanity. And that, to me, was one of the most important things that he said. We talked about politics. We talked about what's happening in Washington, what he's trying to do here in the city of Chicago, and what, that impact on the region and on the state. But the thing that was a big takeaway for me from Mayor Johnson, and I hope you guys that caught it, is how he spoke to the importance of us reclaiming our humanity. And he spoke to the importance of the joy that we need to bring back to our discourse with one another. That, to me, was extremely powerful. So if you get a chance, pull that up online. You can go to our site. We'll have it. I'm sure we'll have different pieces of it, and I'll have. I think I've got a part of it that we were able to record. Irrespective of how you get your hands on it, try and reach out to me, and I'll try to do my best to get it to you. But man, oh man, wasn't it great for the mayor to identify the importance of reclaiming our humanity? And we have the opportunity as progressive liberal Democrats to control that narrative. So let's hit a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
More than 29 million people in the U.S. have diabetes. But Dr. Julie Palmer from Boston University School of Public Health says there are dietary changes you can make to avoid diabetes, such as avoiding soft drinks.
Another thing that will really help that's also very feasible is to increase the amount of cereal fiber in their diet. And all that means is eating more of whole grain products. For example, switching from a typical brand cereal to oatmeal. You can vastly increase the amount of fiber, or just picking a cereal that has high fiber. That can reduce diabetes risk by as much as 20 or 30%. It appears that eating less meat is helpful, but really keeping down the calories and increasing the cereal fiber seems to be the best way to go with diet.
with Checkup on Health. I'm Chris Whitting.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready for something bigger? Then we are looking for you. The big-hearted, the bold, the messy and the gutsy. The teachers, the growers, the builders. The skilled, the sharers, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go all in and all out. We are volunteers, partners, communities, working together, living together, bringing our experience, passion, and joy to building a better world together. From tackling climate change in Mexico to keeping kids healthy in Kenya, from sustainable farming in the Philippines to education in Kosovo. We learn more, give more, share freely, and serve boldly. Are you ready to tackle the tough stuff? To go the distance to make a difference? Then we have a place where you belong. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, skies will become mostly sunny with a high into the lower 60s. Southeast winds of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 47. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high of 73 degrees. Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high around 67. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 47.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. So I'm going to come to a point real quickly about money. I said I'm going to talk a little bit about this waste, fraud, and abuse conversation, but I do want to read one of the text messages that I received about people of color not, quote, coming out and protesting and such. This is from one of our listeners down in South Carolina. Says, I believe that black folks are sitting back and waiting this one out for a bit because they showed up at the polls back in November, 90%, 72% black women, black men, versus white men and white women who need to step up and be the voice until black folks want to or feel the need to get involved. We will continue to fight for them and all Americans against this fascist regime. Even Hispanics did better than whites. I am a 50-year-old white woman, and we need to fix this. I'm a listener from South Carolina and former Chicagoan. So, yeah, curiosity in that space, and love to hear from you guys. Because I was asked that question. I thought, well, we'll see what you guys have to say in terms of an answer. So what have I been talking about? What have I been teasing you guys with in terms of waste, fraud, and abuse? All right, two things I want to cover. We're going to cover one, then another, and then we're going to go to a clip on the second one. NPR receives $2 to $3 million per year in federal funding. PBS receives $80 to $85 million. The military-themed parade Trump is throwing for himself will cost taxpayers approximately $92 million. We're told cutting news and children's programming to fund an authoritarian birthday bash somehow makes America great again. I can't take credit for this. This is a quote that's coming from former candidate for Congress in New York, Melanie Dorigo. It's a great quote in terms of this waste, fraud, and abuse. Now, I recognize that they're trying to merge this and say it's really about a recognition of the military and the 250-year anniversary. I get that. But if that were the case, then make it about that. This is where the White House is failing in messaging. We always get, not that they give a damn, but we always get, as Democrats, accused of failing in messaging. If it's about his birthday, it just so happens his birthday's on the 14th and the parade's going to be on the 14th. Okay, then distinguish between the two. Don't even have the guts, have the decency to say, this is not about my birthday. This is about celebrating the military. But they won't do that. And so now this makes them, as it should be, susceptible to, this is a wasteful, an abusive use of our tax dollars. It just is. And to, as you guys, have heard about this awful situation in terms of trying to shut down PBS, which from all that I've read and I'm doing ongoing review and research on this, that they technically can't do it. So we'll keep our eyes on this as we go along. I'll talk about that probably a little bit more tomorrow. The other thing I wanted to talk about as it relates to fraud and abuse or inappropriate use of the government. I want to introduce a name to you guys, and some of you may know about me, maybe not, but we'll introduce it and talk about this. Liz Oyer, recently fired as the Justice Department's pardon attorney, has ignited a controversy by claiming on social media that President Trump's latest pardons for white-collar criminals have cost Americans $1 billion in unpaid restitution. So we have a clip that she's going to kind of explain a little bit about this, and I'm going to continue to talk about it to try to bring as much information in this space in terms of the conversation of waste, fraud, and abuse. And this is something that I found really compelling. So check this clip out that Devin and I put together. Devin. Liz Oyer. Ruh-roh. Sorry, guys. Give us a moment here. Thought we had it. Well, I'll keep, as Devin's digging that one out of the closet, we'll keep it moving. But it's Attorney Liz Oyer on Trump. That's the one what we're talking about. So basically the premise is this, that she has calculated that this figure really from restitution for when people are fined for, lack of better words, white-collar crimes, that they do have to pay restitution. And there's a pardon. She was a pardon attorney that got, let go by the administration. So it's not so much that it's her specifically that was let go, but the fact that there is a part of the government that's a revenue source that's kind of gone away. And I thought, well, let's talk about this. Let's see what we can dig into a little bit here, and so we'll hopefully get that clip for you guys in a moment. So just bear with us. Let's while we're doing that, if you can. Any luck? Not yet. I thought it did. Okay, I'll see what I did. Oh my goodness. All right, let's grab a couple quick calls. Let's go to Floyd in Skokie. Good morning, Floyd. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard, I want to thank WCPT for the great party they threw on Saturday. It was a great time. It was great hearing the mayor. I sat with so many people who had like minds. It was a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure being at that place.
Well, that's
Maxim Benz was killer.
Yeah, it was. It was a really nice event, and what's great about it, like I was saying and trying to articulate, is that how important it was for you guys to be able to connect with one another. It's one thing for us to talk and see you guys, but I thought it was really nice to see people whose names were recognizable and so forth from the show, from calling in, like yourself. You got a chance to meet someone else that you may have heard call into any of our shows. What's that?
A lot of Steph heads over there.
Yeah, lots of Steph heads over there. And
it was great.
It was really cool. I just thought, wow, how nice and that to me meant a lot, that we were able to have that kind of connection with one another. To me, that sometimes is more important than what we say is what you guys get to say to each other. And in the process of that, we got to hopefully you guys build some connections. That's the other side of it. So, Floyd, it was great to see you, man, and you were there sporting the shirts, and we really appreciated the fact that you came up and said hi and let us know you were there, and that's how I feel about for so many other people who were there that on Saturday.
It was great, Richard. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for being with us, Floyd, and have a great day today. Look forward to hearing from you again soon.
You too. Take care.
Take care. All right. Any luck? It's up? It's good? All right. Let's see what we can do.
Hey, everybody. I told you yesterday that Donald Trump has granted pardons that have wiped out over $1 billion in debts owed by wealthy Americans. Some of you have asked how that's possible. I'm Liz Oyer. I'm the former pardon attorney for the Department of Justice, and I'm going to explain that to you today. When you're convicted of a financial crime like fraud or embezzlement, the law requires you to pay back the money that you stole. It's called restitution. But the president has the power to grant pardons, which can wipe out your entire sentence, including your obligation to pay back the money. Let me give you an example. About a week ago, Donald Trump granted a full and unconditional pardon to a woman named Michelle Fiore. Fiore was an elected official in Las Vegas, Nevada. Fiore was raising money to build a memorial to a fallen police officer. She raised $70,000. But instead of spending that money on the memorial, she spent it on plastic surgery, her daughter's wedding, and her daughter's rent. That's fraud. A jury convicted Fiore, but then Donald Trump swooped in and granted her a full and unconditional pardon. As a result of the pardon, Fiore does not have to repay the $70,000 that she stole from the police memorial fund. In total, Donald Trump has granted pardons that have wiped out over $1 billion in debts owed by wealthy Americans who have committed fraud and broken the law.
Well, the reason that that's relevant, obviously the conversation around waste, fraud, and abuse that DOJ is supposedly trying to go in and find and do something with. This is one, just by getting rid of a person that is responsible for part of getting money back into the government coffers, they get rid of a person, and the DOJ has been trying to silence her. So she's on to something. If they weren't if she weren't on to something, then they wouldn't, in my opinion, be trying to silence her. So we'll keep you posted on this conversation. I found it really compelling. I didn't even know, candidly, honestly, and transparently, I didn't even know that this had happened. But now that I do, of course, I'm gonna stay, locked into talking about it to try to bring you guys as much information in this space as we can. Deb, let's go to another call. Let's go to Dave in Hoffman Estates. Good morning, Dave. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard, blast from the past. Hey, I'm just with the previous caller. It was great meeting you and your lovely wife, Ann. I'm sorry I didn't get back to where I could get a picture of the both of you together and that, but and like the way in the past, you've always honored Ann so well. We're much of the same mind like I am with my wife, Linda.
Yep.
And I married up. She's the smarter, and she keeps me well grounded, and she got to be very, very good friends with Lady B.
Nice.
And she was looking forward to meeting Lady B finally.
That's so
nice
good.
Shot at an argument, and that was amazing. She wanted to go, obviously for me, but then when she started listening to all you guys, the guests and everything, she very, very interesting. And then she also got to meet Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And I said one time afterwards, like last year when she went for the back surgery at that time, you and Karen, had, wished very well, and he didn't know her for Adam. And I never did thank you. I did one time to Karen on air, but I didn't know if she heard, so I told her Saturday again. And then I told her, come on, Linda's over here, and they were talking, and because Linda was big on that, reading that 2025 also. I said, it could have been because of Karen, but I know my wife, she read it online, and like Karen, she was very up on this, what, was going on. So they chatted a little bit about the 2025, but, Karen had other, people to meet and go. But again, thank you guys so much. That meant a lot that time,
Yeah.
with that.
And she's it's good that she's doing well and doing better. And I remember when you shared that with us and how I felt compelled, just as a guy the guy that I am, to remind you that we were in your corner and supporting you and supporting her recovery and all that. So it was great to meet you and to see you guys there. And again, Dave, one of the things that I felt was so important is the fact that you guys got to meet each other. Folks that call into the shows got to talk and see that face of I mean, it's true, because that's the unique thing about, radio. And we're going to hit this break in a second, but you guys got to meet each other. And I think for me, it was nice to see those conversations taking place and across the room. So, and also we got to play a couple of your WCPT voicemails about Dick Kay. So that really touched a lot of people, Dave. I got to tell you that.
I love that. I'm part of the 20-year history. Could they use the Memorex tape, maybe? It sounded like an 80-year-old man that they pulled the respirator mask off to talk.
All right, man. Good to hear your voice this morning.
We all had a different, might have had different hosts we liked and that, but we all had one common goal. And that we're going to find some kind of consensus candidate, be he or she.
That's right.
Got fire in the belt.
That's right.
Anyway, thanks again, Richard. I just figured I had to touch base with you on that. And,
thanks, Dave. Good to see you.
Be well.
You too, man. Be well. Have a great day. Dave at Hoffman Estates, guys. Yeah, it was great to see him there. And like I said, for you guys to meet each other. Let's take a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit ABOC.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Thanks to Dave for the call. Thanks to Floyd for the call. So one of the quick text messages that we received. Okay, let me scroll down a little bit. Richard, you often say, quote, "We stand on the shoulders of those who came before." Saturday was a great time to speak their names and remember their contributions. Dick Kay in particular, besides the decades of knowledge he brought, he pulled in and uplifted new talent. Chicago is sometimes called the city of big shoulders. That was Dick Kay. I didn't realize the extent of that until Saturday. It is an important example to remember and emulate. Acknowledge and remember the past, but also help to build the future. Great point from 630. We appreciate that. Yeah, that's. I use that phrase a lot. It's not something that I came up with. It was one that's been passed on to me from years and years of people who've reminded me of that. And I think that, and I said this Saturday, we currently stand on each other's shoulders. I mean, that's the thing that I think we have to remember, is that we currently stand on each other's shoulders, even in someone that could be younger than us, but they're here to support us. And I want to talk. There's two clips I want to play that are. We talk about this question around leadership, and I get criticized, appropriately so sometimes, for not for different things, for whatever they may be. And part of my responsibility to you guys is to hear that criticism and do something with it if it's relevant. And one of the things that I said last week is we don't know what the pillow talk is. We don't know behind the curtain conversation. We don't know what's going on with sometimes the decisions that our leaders make. Some of them are blatantly stupid actions, and others are without a lot of intent and energy. But I felt that Governor Whitmer, I said last week, I didn't like that she had to do what she did, whatever it was and why, but I felt that there was some sort of a backstory. There was something going on. But she is one of our current leaders and one of our future ongoing leaders. And I think that what I asked for from her, it's not that she answered to me, but what I wanted to know was what was it that was behind the reason why she had to or made the decision to do what she did when it came to Trump. And agree or disagree, I felt that she was deserving of her ability to explain. And that's what I say oftentimes for our leaders. Tell us why you did it, then we can understand a little bit better what you're seeing that we don't get access to necessarily, and then how you had to navigate that. Otherwise, people just go, well, there's another one that we've lost. And we have a clip that speaks to an interview that she did that somewhat answers a little bit of the mystery behind what went on that Devin and I put together. And I'd like you guys to hear this. And then we're going to go to another future leader in terms of how he's navigating and going forward. So let's go to the Gretchen Whitmer clip, Devin.
So one of the chapters that really inspired me was called Run Toward the Fire. And even the mental image alone, I'm like, wow. And spending some time with you, you are a lady who runs toward the fire. And I love this metaphor, not just for leadership, but for resilience. Can you tell me about a recent example where you had to run toward the fire?
I've got one very recent, actually. So, 2 weeks ago, we had a horrendous ice storm in northern Michigan. If you get a 1/4 inch of ice, it is a catastrophe. We had 1.5 inches of ice in some places. It snapped utility poles in half. 3,500 utility poles snapped in half. You and I are talking, it's about 15 days since the first ice storm happened, and then 4 days into it, another one came through. 15 days in, we still have 5,500 people that don't have power. I mean, that's how serious it is and how scary. And so, I went up and toured the area, and I decided last week I called the president and said, I'm going to need some help, and I want to come in and tell you about this. By the way, I also wanted to talk about tariffs and Air National Guard base, but he said, okay, come on over. So I went to D.C. this past week to go meet with the president about this, and they brought me in, not into a meeting, a one-on-one meeting, which is what I thought I was going for, but into a press conference that was about a bunch of stuff that I don't agree with. And I was kind of, what do? Do you make a scene? Well, that doesn't help the people of Michigan. Do you walk out? That doesn't help the people of Michigan. So I stood there. I walked out briefly to talk to my staff person and walked back in and then had my meeting. But I've gotten a lot of heat for it. But I had to ask for help for the people of Michigan. And public service, the way I was taught public service from both my parents is you take an oath to put the people's interests above your own. And so while maybe I'm going to pay a price for that, I was doing the right thing for Michigan.
Okay, guys. As I said, when we get an explanation, it helps us tremendously to better understand the situation. You can still not agree, but at least you have a better understanding. It allows you to have some perspective. It allows you to be fair. And sometimes we have to bury our egos. What Governor Whitmer did is she buried her ego. She asked for help. That's one of the hardest damn things to do, is to ask for help, particularly from somebody that might hold it over you. But putting her folks, her people, and they probably, because I know the geography of Michigan, if y'all know it, a lot of those folks were in red parts of the state, Devin. But she asked for help for the people that are of her state. The act of service is to put yourself in the back seat and put your constituencies in the front seat. So I'm not going to be hating on Governor Whitmer for that, because that's what a leader is supposed to do. Let's talk about another leader. Do we have enough time for to get Governor Moores in before we go to the break? Governor Wes Moore. I'm not going to be hating on Governor Whitmer. That one's not showing either. This is a really good clip. Let me keep going on Governor Whitmer. So she took heat for it, and if her constituents appreciated the work that she did, then that's what really matters. It just does. And if I catch some heat from you guys for how I position it with her, I've said this, and I'm gonna be the one to take responsibility for my words. I don't like it when our leaders have got to do that, and I'm concerned when they don't. But when they do, what I've often asked for is, tell us what happened. Tell us why you did it. Tell us why you felt you had to do that. And she explains it. And I think that's so important that we give them the space to be able to do those things. If we don't, then it makes it hard to, at least in my opinion, it makes it hard for them to navigate. And to that end, we then have a situation where they're going to do something that we don't agree with, but it may be something they have to do in that role. So, don't get it twisted. This is not a defense of Governor Whitmer. This is let's get a better understanding of what she did and why she felt she needed to do it. And any of the pieces that are a part of that decision, we have to be willing to incorporate all that in. Just like with Chuck Schumer. And I know some people out there are going to say, yeah, but you got all over Schumer. I did. Slightly different scenario. So I can get, you got to look at that too. But I also said when he went on The View, Devin, and explained why he voted the way that he did, I still didn't agree with it, but at least I had a better understanding as to why he felt he was going to do it. And that's what I think we all owe our leaders is a little bit of better understanding. But they have to be willing to tell us why they made certain decisions. I think that's important. That's an important part of leadership. Here's why I made this difficult decision, or one that y'all may hate me for making. I made it because of these factors. And then what then happens is we're able to better navigate how we go about supporting them. Don't get me wrong. If someone does something that's stupid, or I believe is stupid, we need to call it out. But let's spend as much time, if not more. And this is where I've had disagreements with people that we've had on the air. I'm not going to be just first words bashing Democrats when we could be spending our energy and time. And Hal Sparks and I talked about this as it relates to David Hogg. We need to spend that money or that time, that energy on taking down Republicans, not taking down the folks on our own team. Prop them up, but don't take them down. Take down the Republicans. That's where the energy needs to go. All right, guys, we're coming to the top of the hour. We got to hit this quick break. When we come back, we will be talking with State Representative Harry Benton on some child care items. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the 1830s in Lowell, Massachusetts, during the rise of the textile industry, factories were hiring large groups of women ranging in ages 18 to 35 to work at their mills. The workdays were 13 hours long and had poor working conditions. By 1834, the textile market was sluggish. In response, the workers' wages were reduced by 12.5%. One of the workers, Julia Wilson, tried to organize the women to get their wages back, only to be terminated abruptly. Wilson signaled the women to strike or turn out. Over 800 women marched and signed a petition saying we will not go back into the mills to work unless our wages are continued. Ultimately, the strike failed, but they learned from their mistake and successfully battled back a rent increase on their boarding houses 2 years later. By January 1845, about a dozen of the Lowell female textile workers came together to form the Lowell Female Labor Reform Association. This would become the first organized union of women workers in American history. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to newnordicusa.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Israel has a new plan to take over the whole of Gaza, according to Israeli officials. AP correspondent Karen Shamas has more.
2 Israeli officials have said ministers have approved a plan to capture the entirety of the Gaza Strip and remain in the territory for an indefinite amount of time. If carried out, the move would likely bring fierce international opposition. Israeli cabinet ministers approved the plan in an early morning vote on Monday, hours after the Israeli military chief said the army was calling up tens of thousands of reserve soldiers. The new plan would also push hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to southern Gaza, which would likely exacerbate an already dire humanitarian crisis. I'm Karen Shamas.
Iran's foreign minister is visiting Pakistan to try and mediate in the escalation between India and Pakistan. Abbas Araghchi's visit is the the first to Pakistan by a foreign dignitary after last month's deadly attack on tourists in Pahalgam in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Pakistan's military has been on high alert after a Pakistani minister cited credible intelligence that India could attack. Pakistan has denied any role in the massacre. President Trump says he's directing the Bureau of Prisons to reopen Alcatraz. The president speaking to reporters about why he decided to reopen the prison.
It's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order. And, it's got quite a history, frankly. Yeah. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
The former prison is on a California island off San Francisco and has been closed since 1963. The president also announced he's authorized officials to put a 100% tariff on foreign films. On his Truth Social platform, the president says countries are offering incentives drawing movie production out of the U.S. He says the films threaten national security and can include propaganda. The conclave to elect the next pope will be the most geographically diverse. A total of 133 cardinals from 71 countries will be entering the Sistine Chapel to cast their vote. A two-thirds majority is needed to be elected pope. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Buddy Hield had 33 points and Stephen Curry added 22 as the 7th-seeded Warriors grounded the 2nd-seeded Rockets 103-89 on the road in Game 7 to win their first-round Western Conference playoff series. Golden State coach Steve Kerr.
Game 7 on the road. If you don't bring it, you're going home, and our guys brought it.
In the East, the Pacers shocked the top-seeded Cavaliers 121-112 on the road in Game 1 of their second-round series. Stanley Cup playoffs, the Jets overcame a 2-goal deficit in the final 2 minutes of regulation as Adam Lowry's tip-in at 16:10 of double overtime sealed a 4-3 win over the Blues in the third-longest Game 7 in NHL history. And Scottie Scheffler matched the PGA Tour 72-hole scoring record with a closing 63 to finish 31 under par in an 8-shot win at the Byron Nelson.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, skies will become mostly sunny with a high into the lower 60s. Southeast winds of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 47. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high of 73 degrees. Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high around 67. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 47.
Do you disregard people's personal space? Sitting next to people in public, even if there are tons of open seats? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Mattress Firm's 72-hour sale is happening now. Save up to 72% off on top brands, with queens starting at $149.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or mattressfirm.com for details.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. Yeah, Devin and I were laughing. It's like, every now and you think you sent something to somebody and you didn't hit the send button or hit enter. And so, fortunately, it still sits in your box and you can get it sent out. So, Dev and I will get to the clip I was talking about of Governor Wes Moore. Local, I talk about that a lot. and how our local is part of the national conversation no matter how we look at it. And local means city of Chicago, counties surrounding us, and the great state of Illinois. With us again this morning from the 97th district, way out there, is Representative Harry Benton. Good morning, Representative Benton. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. You still sporting that beard, or have you decided to shave it off now that we're about to get into the warm season?
Oh, manliness knows no season. I keep it all year round.
Hey.
And if I shave, I look like a fat, overgrown 12-year-old, so I definitely keep it to hide some chins.
So it's not about the manliness. It's about looking good, with not looking like a 12-year-old.
It's a little bit of both.
Good man. I hope you've been doing well. I know you've been busy as you know what these last few weeks since we talked back. I think it was in March, but you've been working really hard in an area that, even though it's a local bill, I say local meaning a state bill, or a couple bills that you've been a big part of, it is part of a national conversation. But let's talk this morning, Representative Benton, about House Bill 3268 and why that's so important to families throughout the state of Illinois.
Well, you know what? I was working on 3268 and 3444.
44, right.
And anytime that we can have that conversation about early intervention, good child care programs, we need to have the conversation about accessibility and affordability. And that's what this bill does. There's conversations happening right now with all of the stakeholders to move this into a rules-making process. It's something I've been working on for 3 years. It's a really good bill to have a tiered employment system to create almost like an apprenticeship-style program for child care providers to help fill these vacancies. It will create that accessibility and that affordability and, stabilize a lot of these child care issues. Because since COVID, we've had about 700 child cares close across the state. And a lot of that goes back to filling those employment vacancies.
So that's a question I wanted to kind of come back to. The bill is really, obviously, at the end of the day, it's about making sure that costs are down, it's more affordable, and the availability for child care is higher for families across the state. But talk a little bit more about the conversation. You used the word, maybe you used the word internship, but oh, gosh, I lost the word that you used.
Internship or apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship. Thank you, Representative. Let's talk about why that's so important and integral to the services that are provided and, of course, keeping facilities open.
Well, so basically this would allow daycares to conditionally hire people who are still completing their child care certification as long as they meet their other requirements. And there's multiple ways to qualify, having to do so with the experience in child care facilities as a learner and semester or quarterly hours relevant to the education. So that's that apprenticeship style or internship style where you're going through your education while you have those requirements to get your end goal of your requirement. And they can work in those facilities for 18 months until they get their final certification. But that's one of the things that we don't typically talk about on a regular basis, of trying to get people into the space, but that space is predominantly women of color. There are single mothers. There are secondary income with spouses that have multiple jobs. Do you know what the ironic thing is? They need child care and access to child care.
The people providing child care need child care themselves.
So sometimes they need a space where they can get either an affordable or a discounted rate for working for the child care provider to go and finish their child care licensing and get their degree.
Yeah.
it is a vicious cycle. But that's something that I'm also working on, expansion of the ECACE program for budgeting for early childhood block grants, so we can incentivize people to get into a space that really is not a lucrative profession. To get into childcare, you just have to love childcare early intervention programs, because once you get in, unfortunately, we lose a lot of really good people in the space as they go to becoming a teacher, because it's a better pay.
Right. What can we do? I mean, obviously, if we create a platform, we create a system for making sure that the educational part is there, and we've gotten folks trained and they're up and running. What can we do to make sure that they've got a wage that's sustainable? I mean, what are some of the opportunities there to create that environment?
We've been working at the statewide level to do an incentivizing program where a subsidy to the providers to help alleviate that difference in that child care cost, rather than increase the amount to the provider, right? Mm-hmm. So we're getting direct payments to them, or to supplement to try to avoid those cost increases. I have 2 kids in childcare, 4 and 6. My daughter's going to be 7 here on the 14th. And that's been a lifesaver with her being in kindergarten full day. That saved me about $10,000. Wow. That's how expensive it is. We were $37,000, and now I'm sitting at, just did my taxes. It was depressing, $26,000, and one of them is only part-time.
Yeah.
So when my son goes to kindergarten next year, we're getting a big raise. But it's pushing out secondary income in a household. A lot of people can't justify these costs. So one of the spouses ends up staying home, and a lot of times that ends up being the female spouse. So this is so regressive to career advancement, making those awkward discussions, or having those awkward discussions about where they're going to be, or whatever spouse it is. Is it justifiable to go to work? Are people going to work just for benefits? How they're going to manage that? Or are they just going to go into debt and take it on the chin for a little while until the kids end up in school to try to figure it out? So they could take those advancements, they can take those promotions, they can take that career that they've always wanted and do what they love to do.
Yeah.
It's a very regressive policy that I just don't think we're talking about enough.
Yeah. We're talking with State Representative Harry Benton from the 97th District. Representative, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the other bill that you have been sponsor of, and what that means to the state of Illinois. This is Choose View 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
Ooh, just what I needed. A mug. This time of year, what do you give? When it's your extra concert game or special event tickets to VetTix, you're giving our nation's brave service members and veterans an amazing experience. Give something to those who gave. VetTix. For more information on how you can make a difference right now, or to become a VetTixer, go to vettix.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Representative Harry Benton is with us. State Representative Harry Benton is with us from the 97th District. Representative, you also are working on another bill. Well, I should say working on. Just recently got this bill passed, and that back in April is House Bill 3444. And this still stays in the space of child care. Let's talk a little bit about what that means to families here in Illinois.
So that one is a cleanup bill for something that I worked on last year. And then this is the totality of the issue, is trying to offer some parity for the certifications and the licensing process for childcare on military bases. So this is going to affect Scott Air Force Base, Great Lakes Naval Base, and anybody else that's in the military space. So they had a lot of issues with trying to figure out how to get childcare on base or off base, and what the process was to get that certification. This just offers a lot of that parity for the DoD programs, so they can offer that on base without having to go through this long, antiquated process through DCFS when they're already held to a high standard by the Department of Defense.
And it's expensive. As I was researching this, it's very expensive and complicated, right?
A lot of times, if you're in the child care space, you hire somebody to do the paperwork and go through the process because it's a lot. And it could take a long time. Some people it's even taken years for them to get their license. Wow.
So if I guess the guidelines would be that if they are approved by the military, then this would allow them to be exempt from some of the costs and the time it takes to actually be certified and have their ability to practice and serve on a military base. Is that right? Am I saying it right, or do you have to clean that up for me a little bit?
No, that's the general premise of it. And the Department of Defense has very high standards for their child care on base. And when we talk about militaries, we forget that it's working families. Mm-hmm. And these are working families with 24-hour needs. So a lot of these child care facilities that operate off base, they don't fall within that, because if they're working that second or third shift in the military, they can't offer care. So there are people that set this up and they do shift child care, and it really saves our men and women in the military a lot of hassle from going to outside care.
Got it.
I think we have to offer them support, and we have to do it in a way that makes sense. And I think this makes sense because they already have – it's a over-regulation at this point, because they've got the checks and balances, and then they're forcing it. Because some of these people are child care providers in other states, and then they get shipped over to another base, and then they open it up, and then they find out, oh, I've got to go through another licensing process again.
So it's basically, it takes sort of the phrase grandfathering, and not in a negligent way or irresponsible way, and says that if you've been approved essentially at another facility, and you get new orders and a transfer to a different facility in a different state, it would provide them a sort of a gateway to continue to practice once they get to that new duty station in a different part of the country, right?
Yeah, and DoD in most cases have higher standards.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know that if that's going to be, if they've already sort of gone through that rigor, that wherever they go, they should be able to successfully practice and be a care provider for wherever they ended up being restationed. Let me ask you a question about that. Obviously, I say this often, and you've heard me say this before when you've been on the show, Representative. Local issues are national issues now more than ever before, and this one, child care, is not. You're a great representative here in the state of Illinois, But this is something that is important in Wisconsin and Michigan and certainly our neighboring states and throughout the country, that we've got not only adequate child care on our military bases, but that we create a greater conversation, to your point earlier before the break, that we talk about this more. We talk about this daily because it affects all our families one way or another in terms of better child care and lowering the cost of it, increasing the awareness, increasing the skill set. So on a national level, how do you want to see, if you had your wish list of how we handle this on a national level, what are your thoughts about child care in the national conversation?
Well, first of all, we have to hold the administration accountable. When they're sitting there gutting early intervention, special education, education grants under the guise of removing DEI or whatever it may be, these are crucial programs that both my kids have IEPs. My daughter was nonverbal till she was 4 years old. We got her into a great program. It took us 8 months to do it. But within a month and a half, she was a totally different kid.
Wow.
She was talking all the time, sassy as hell. I loved it. She had this confidence that she didn't have before because she couldn't communicate.
Yeah.
And what this current administration lacks is foresight. Mm-hmm. They keep doing these reactive things that are actually regressive. Yeah. We put $1 into early intervention and a good child care program or early intervention programs, we're going to see a $7 to $10 return later on. We are going to see less special education services because that birth to 5 is so critical. If we can front load that and we can find a way to get access, these kids are going to be better off. Yep. This is our future. And
it's our futures now, right now.
From the future.
Sorry, I apologize, Representative. Go ahead. Say that again, please. I apologize.
Our future is now.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to reach out, and everybody on this call, go to programs like DuPage Children's Museum. DuPage Children's Museum is losing federal grants. They operate a Wonder Club that is outstanding in 102 counties in the state of Illinois. They are working on early intervention. They're working on sensory. They're working on access. They're educational programs. And I'm working on getting them funding from the state because the Fed has attacked programs like that. So where are we at? What are we doing? People aren't standing up enough and saying, this is wrong. We're making bad decisions right now, and this is going to be a terrible time in our history.
Yeah.
And our future children that I'm talking about, taking care of them right now, they're going to look back and they're going to say, what was everybody doing and how did this happen?
What were you thinking? That's right. So, Representative, I got a little bit of a favor to ask of you, and maybe you can email it to me. My email is richard@wcpt820.com. Here's my ask. You mentioned DuPage Children's Museum. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Outstanding program.
I'd love you to, through your staff, make a connection for me with them. Introduction, however you have to do it. I'd like to get someone from their organization on the show to talk about that program because they're being impacted. It's a local organization that's being impacted by a federal decision. So that's my ask. I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to ask for help. If you can make the connection one way or the other, so that I can find a person there that you know or are aware of, because we'd like to get someone from that organization on the show to talk about that topic. So I'll just kind of put that out to you and let you and your magical staff of people do what they do and reaching out to me, and we'll make it happen so that we can have a voice.
That one's real easy. I'll just call the director today and make sure that she reaches out.
Okay.
It's a great program. They're offering things like $25 for the entire year. It's a discounted rate for anyone with a 504 or an IEP program. Wow. If they need to go in an hour early for sensory so they can be isolated and still have a great time, it's one of these things that is a godsend for parents that are going through a lot of struggles of dealing with a case of maybe autism, being on the spectrum, some type of neurodiversity, that it brings joy to their child's life. It brings them a little bit of peace and serenity when they're dealing with the struggles of trying to figure out that next level of care. It's always a fight when you have a child that needs an early intervention or needs a special program, because it's not an easy process. It's not an easy process when you have to do an annual review for an IEP. That doesn't really change, and you're sitting there fighting and getting an advocate to fight for you. So anytime that we can give back to working families and give them a break, that's what we should be doing.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of fighting, that's definitely in your nature and your DNA, Representative. It's a pleasure to have you on again. I look forward to having you on again, as we said before, and the bills that you're working on to make sure that children and families in the state of Illinois are being cared for, given the assistance and that which they need. Let our listeners know how they can follow you, how they can reach you, and get involved in the work that you're doing with the Illinois General Assembly and for the families here in Illinois.
Real easy. You can Google me, find my Facebook. I'm all over Facebook, Instagram. My phone number to my office is 815-254-0000. You can reach me at harry@repharrybenton.com, and you can find me at repharrybenton.com.
There you go.
And you can also, while you're Googling, Google DuPage Children's Museum and try to help them out.
Absolutely. And I'm putting it on you to reach out to your colleague there and have them get in touch with me, because I definitely want to have them on the show to talk about their program. So, Representative Benton, thanks for being with us this morning. Hang tight this week. We know you got a busy week and a lot going before you guys wrap up this session. But we'll talk to you soon when you're back in session. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Be well. Thanks again, Representative. Have a great day. Bye now.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Yeah, y'all, that's what it's all about, is making sure that our children are taken care of, making sure that we are doing the work that we've got to do to, just give them the support that they need. If we don't do that, I believe, if we're not doing that, then what direction that goes. So, all right, Devin is mastering the phones, but we're going to take a tiny little break. The number here is 773-763-9278. We'll try to get some of your calls before we wrap up, but definitely we will we'll keep it moving forward. We'll be right back.
Getting the kids to practice on time. Remembering if it's your day to bring snacks. Making it to the game with a clean jersey. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like whether your kid is going to run toward first or third base. That's simple human sense.
In Will and DuPage County, contact Paul Fazio at Fazio Insurance, 815-727-2611, or FazioInsurance.com.
These are real stories of speech-language pathologists and the people they helped. He was in his 30s.
55 and far from home.
15 years old with multiple disabilities.
It was a traumatic brain injury.
He's bilingual but lost his English after the stroke.
Several surgeries led to his swallowing disorder.
His goal was to get back to work.
I used French during therapy.
Others almost gave up on the goal of him eating.
Oh, he was dedicated.
Together, we built his life back.
Social interaction was the key to helping him.
And he made it back to work.
When he ate, his friends cheered.
Everyone has the right to communicate.
And later, he was able to travel across the world to his family.
Are you or someone you know experiencing a speech, language, or swallowing disorder? An ASHA certified speech language pathologist can help. Visit us at asha.org/public.
If you're caring for someone with COPD, you probably have a lot of questions. Caregivers juggle many roles. The right resources can help. The COPD Caregivers Toolkit is a free resource that provides information about COPD to help you prepare for doctor visits, support a healthy home, and take care of yourself. Visit nhlbi.nih.gov/COPD-caregivers.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, skies will become mostly sunny with a high into the lower 60s. Southeast winds of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 47. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high of 73 degrees. Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high around 67. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 48.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose View. 773-763-9278. Yeah. It's been an interesting week, and we're gonna chat with someone that has some comments about that. But before we go that, we're going to go to a clip that we put together from our good friend Mike Nellis.
I've been stewing about this all day. Donald Trump went on live TV this morning and started to lecture parents about how many toys their kids can own. He also said in this economic crisis that we're approaching that the federal government is not going to be providing any support to small business owners or entrepreneurs. So he's leaving the most vulnerable people, families, working class Americans, entrepreneurs and small business owners out in the cold, while corrupt billionaires like him are going to be able to take advantage of the economic chaos that he's creating with these idiotic tariffs. And this is the same guy whose entire apartment and frankly the gaudiness of his Oval Office is covered in gold. This is a man who was born into wealth, who has never had to actually fight to put food on the table, never had to fight to pay his rent, never had to figure out what his retirement plan looked like because he was worried about not having enough to take care of himself and his family. This is an unbelievable, staggering level of audacity from a man who just irritates the hell out of me. Because look, I get that some of us have differences and I might want to solve a certain problem one way and somebody else might want to solve another problem another way. I get that. In a functioning democracy, that's how it should work. But this is a man who doesn't care about you, he doesn't care about me, and he certainly doesn't care about his own supporters, because a lot of people from rural communities or people who are going to be on Medicare or Medicaid who voted for Donald Trump are going to be hurt by his budget. They're going to be hurt by these terrible tariffs. They're going to be left out in the cold probably more than people who live in urban communities that are going to be wealthier and be able to take care of one another in a vastly different way under Democratic leadership in some of these states. This just drives me nuts. We are weeks away from an economic crisis that people don't fully understand, and Donald Trump just does not get it and does not want to help you.
So I can only take credit for bringing that clip to you guys, but I'd like to welcome to the show our good friend Mike Nellis. Do you know that guy that just dropped that bit of knowledge on us, Mike?
No, but he sounds pretty smart.
I heard that he might be a little smart. Look, man, a little bit. I want to be able, for those who don't know this reference, I want to be able to get as many G.I. Joes with a kung fu grip as possible. And I don't want to deprive any person, period, their children from having as many Barbie dolls or whatever, SpongeBob, I don't even know, Mike. I'm way past that point. But how in the hell do you tell anybody, period, and I spoke about this last week, anybody, how many of anything they should or should not be able to have, meanwhile taking away the things that they would need to get them in the first doggone place? Talk about arrogance on steroids. What say you, my friend?
Oh, I can't stand it. My version of this as a kid would be collecting all the Power Ranger dolls. So you're going to tell me that my dad can only get me 2 out of 5? Like, come on. But look, people are struggling. They were struggling before Trump. Let's acknowledge that. But everything's a lot worse now. Everything's more expensive. And we've got $100 million to spend on a military parade for Donald Trump that's going to destroy the streets of D.C. We've got plenty of money, we found out last night, to rebuild Alcatraz, apparently.
Yeah.
We've got no money for cancer research for kids. But we've got it's mind-boggling to me how disconnected he is from the reason that he won, let alone the actual people who voted for him. And I'm very worried for rural communities. I'm very worried for people that are on Medicaid and Medicare, because the rural hospitals are going to get slashed. Medicare and Medicaid is going to get slashed. They can pay for tax cuts for the rich. And then the tariffs are the largest tax increase in my lifetime on the American people. And we're about to start facing the real consequences of that, both in terms of the cost of everything, but also the supply chain disruptions. We're going to have potentially, if this doesn't get resolved soon, empty shelves in a lot of American grocery stores pretty damn soon.
They're already starting. That's already happening. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
No. Go ahead.
That's already happening. Those shelves are starting to show some blight. And you talked about this doggone, and I know you and I could both get really salty here about this parade, and what that's not only going to cost on the front end, but on the back end. And of course, who's going to be left holding the bag in terms of the repairs and all the things? The DC metropolitan area will be. But yet, we are going to, that money could go to help the people, the very people that say that they voted for the reduction in price of X, Y, and Z. The other thing, I don't know how much you plugged into this, Mike, is and I had a clip earlier, and I talked about this, is Liz Oyer, who was the recently fired Department of Justice pardon attorney, and how much restitution money has been not even gathered now because of the way in which they are handling that part of the federal government. So it's just another scenario, to your point, of him not being in tune with really anything. What's the bouncing ball from next? Now let's go to Alcatraz. Next thing, let's repaint the Golden Gate Bridge. There's no concept of connectivity and continuity with what this administration is doing. None.
People are exhausted by the chaos. I said this when Trump got elected, people were mad at the Democrats, and they had every right to be. They elected this guy, and within 100 days, we were going to have massive buyer's remorse. And we have that now because his polling numbers are completely tanking. I've seen him in the low to mid 30s in multiple polls in the last week, which is bizarre after 100 days. But look, economic issues are a daily indignity for people. You cannot gaslight people into believing that the economy is good if they can't afford to put rent on the table, if they can't afford to pay their rent, or they can't afford to put food on the table. I just did a George W. Bushism there, real quick.
Well, no, and that's okay. And they do merge together because you got a place to live, and you want to have a place to live, be able to afford it, and all the things that come with it, which include sustenance. Let me pivot a little bit. I said earlier in the show, Democrats and regular Democratic leaders and regular everyday folks, let's let the Catholic Church handle this meme. We don't need to get. I was looking at that over the past few days, and believe me, man, I have family, friends, colleagues, all the rest that are born and raised Catholic and still practicing Catholic, some that have left the church to Catholic Church, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, listen, Democratic leaders, don't get caught up on this. Is another distraction. Let the Catholic Church, who probably may have failed us in the areas of how they've dealt with priests and their behavior in some cases, but I think they've got a pretty good messaging machine when it comes to dealing with other folks' bad behavior. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, well, I'm a Catholic. I find the image offensive. At the same time, I know that Donald Trump wants me to be offended, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. I did enjoy Cardinal Dolan of New York, though, using the phrase "brutta figara," which basically means you look like a fool in Italian, which was phenomenal for me to see. And Dolan, by the way, pretty big conservative, so that gives you a sense of how Trump is losing people here. But he plays this game of distraction, and Alcatraz is the same thing. Like last night, he's signing an executive order saying we're going to rebuild Alcatraz. Alcatraz is not rebuildable.
Nope.
That's not going to happen. 90% of these executive actions are a joke, and they're just designed to create an illusion of action. But he's so far removed from the plot of what he was elected to do, which was lower grocery prices, make everything more affordable, get people back to work, and secure the border. And he's not doing basically any of that.
And causing more hell in that space. I mean, with Mr. Garcia, the reason that I believe, and you probably see this similarly, and we've learned about each other, that we can solve problems. We may have to work on it from. I look at folks like you and me who see this. We see the problem, and we're taking, like, Mike's on one part of this lever and I'm on another part of this lever, but and we may move it differently, but we're moving it. And to this conversation around immigration, most every administration, Democratic and Republican, have failed or not done as well as we would want them to have done. Let's just put that on the table. Nobody has to debate that. That's a reality. However, when you start snatching folks off the street, listen, Reagan didn't do that. Bush 1 didn't do it. Clinton did. I mean, not to the extent without the necessary due process. It's become a weight that they can't get around. And when Senator, why am I drawing a blank? Murphy went down there.
Van Hollen,
thank you. Van Hollen went down there and met with him and showed that there could be some humanity to this situation. That really is when the numbers tanked so quickly on Trump, is because Van Hollen proved that we can maintain our humanity. And even though we skipped past due process, that still had to remain intact.
A pretty big core American value that the Founding Fathers instilled in us is that everybody gets to have their day in court. Everybody gets to have it, whether they're an American citizen or not, and that has been ruled on multiple times by the Supreme Court. Even Anton Scalia thinks that everybody should have their day in court, right? And
in fact, he wanted that.
Agree on literally anything else, right?
He was a big advocate of that, largely because of his ego. He wanted to be able to have that power in the courtroom. So, yes, it's not a conservative or a liberal or a Democratic or Republican ideology. It's all of us. It kind of goes back to that speech that the former President Obama gave in 2004 at the DNC. It's not red and blue. It's United States of America. That's a core principle. And the Republicans are just kind of skipping by because of you, as you said, they're too weak to stand up to this. And it's going to land in their backyard at some point. This is one of these scenarios, one of these abuses of power is going to land in their backyard and going to directly impact a 1 or 2 degrees separation of someone that's a constituent of theirs. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
I think one day it comes for them, frankly, because these Republicans are not willing to stand up to Donald Trump. They're not willing to say that it's wrong to snatch people off the streets and send them to an El Salvador prison without ever facing a judge. They're not willing to stand up on the budget or any of the other crazy stuff that Trump wants to do. And you've got senators like Lisa Murkowski are out there from Alaska saying she's too afraid to speak up because she's worried about what's going to happen to her. Like, that is not – I hate to be like one of those Democrats, like, that's not normal, but that's not normal. Like, it's just not. And – I think as Democrats, at least for me and my clients, like, we have to stop thinking that one day the fever is going to break and Republicans are going to suddenly grow a backbone, because we're 10 years into this experiment already with Donald Trump. We watched him try to overthrow the government on January 6th with a bunch of his Yahoo supporters, and nobody stood up to him. Like, we didn't impeach him then. We're not going to impeach him now. Like, this isn't going to happen. So we got to fix this problem ourselves, and it's going to require a new version of the Democratic Party with new generational leadership that can stand up and fight in this moment in time that we're in, and then a strong opposition in the streets, which we're seeing with the hands-off protests and all the other movements across the country, to have a 1-2 punch to kick these fascists out of office.
Yeah,
frankly.
I mean, I like that conversation, 1-2 punch. I was asked a question on social media about that in terms of why did I think, and then we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this and one other thing that you talked about on social media. Let's take a quick break. We're talking with strategist Mike Nellis. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is MoretLawOffice.com. That's Moret spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
We are speaking with Mike Nellis, strategist. This is Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Mike, there was a conversation on ABC that I want to play and have us chat a little bit about that. Go with it, Dad.
Let me begin
with you. You and your colleagues published a major investigation this week in the New York Times where you conclude, and these are your words, the firm largely owned by a Trump family corporate entity has erased centuries-old presidential norms, eviscerating the boundary between private enterprise and government policy in a manner without precedent in modern American history. Break that down. What are the major questions of potential corruption and conflicts of interest?
I mean, this is a nation that we've always had campaign fundraising where people are taking donations, but these donations are going to their political causes. What we've never seen before at this scale in modern American history, or really in American history overall, is a president who is effectively, through his sons, owns businesses that are personally profiting off of regulatory decisions that he's making. And the conflicts of interest here are just, the word we don't like to use too much in Washington among reporters is unprecedented. But these truly are unprecedented. And he is, appointing the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission at the same time as the SEC is shutting down investigations of some of his business partners. He pardons a crypto executive named Arthur Hayes, who is an investor in one of the companies that's partnered with with World Liberty Financial. He's offering 220 people the right to come and have dinner with him at his golf course in Virginia. At the same time, these are people who are trying to influence his policies and, in fact, have stated so, that they're buying his crypto and effectively giving him money so that they can get access to the President of the United States. I mean, it's really just something we've never seen before. And it's actually quite hard to track. There's so much happening simultaneously. It's taking a whole team of us at the New York Times to try to keep up.
So, Mike, the reason that I've said to you, kind of similar to you, is, Dems, don't get caught up in this Catholic meme. Let's focus on this kind of stuff. It's because this is the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, if you will, or the distraction. Mm-hmm. Let me go out to Alcatraz and trash talk, and maybe we can bring it back. And his normal, we'll see, and let's see what, you know how he does his thing. Meanwhile, this stuff is going on. Speak to that if you can.
This is the most corrupt president in American history by a mile. And I'll die on that hill. In the last 100 days, we have seen just, and I hate to say unprecedented, but we've seen unprecedented corruption. The guy's got a meme coin that's being used to bribe him. My favorite hustle that they've got is that Donald Trump has a $100,000 gold watch that is the ugliest thing I have ever seen in my entire life, and it's not even made with real gold, and you can buy it for $100,000. That is ripe for bribery and corruption, because no regular person is going to buy a $100,000 watch. It's somebody who wants to get access and influence into the Trump White House who's going to buy it. Same with these dinners, same with everything else. They're laying off massive groups of people. Like, they laid off all of the people at the SEC whose job it is to regulate crypto. There are no regulations on crypto that exist. That team was trying to use current law to rein in all the crypto scams that are out there and the meme coins, and they laid them off at the same time that he launched his own meme coin. And for folks that don't know, a meme coin is basically fake currency that you can broker back and forth, and there are legitimate uses of crypto, but giving the president of the United States a meme coin so that he can essentially take bribes is just unbelievable to me. And he announced, I think, a couple days ago that the owners of the meme coin could have dinner with him, and then the value skyrocketed. And he made some crazy amount of money, like $1 billion off of just that announcement. So it's an unprecedented use at a time when he's going on live TV and telling you how many toys you can buy your kid. He's telling small business owners that there's not going to be any relief for them with his tariffs. So it's so brazen to me, and we, as a Democratic Party, has to make corruption one of the biggest issues in the midterms, one of the biggest issues in the next presidential election. And part of what we have to do first is also clean our own house, because there are corruption issues inside the Democratic Party, and we need to come out strong against this. And I think it's at the central core of how we get back into power, but it's also the right thing to do. We need to take on insider trading in the stock market right now, for example. That is a prevalent issue on the Democratic Party and the Republican side.
But you're right. It is an issue. And I'll say and rather than but. And a person that is going to change the way that they've been operating in terms of voting is going to be less concerned about insider trading, because not concerned, but less concerned about that, and more concerned about what are you doing for me right here in my community? Because that's we don't, again, Mike, you know this as well as I do. That's a big sort of issue we'll call it this, I'm going to put it this way. That's one of those nerdy issues that if we get caught up in, we'll be distracted by it, rather than making sure that the folks in the local communities who may have voted in a direction we didn't want them to, or we didn't think that they would, they're going to once again go, there you go again, Dems, dealing with these issues over here. I want to know what you're going to do to make sure that I've got, to your point, I can afford my rent and I can afford food on my table. So I love what...
I'm going to give you...
Go ahead.
I'm going to give you a yes and. I'm going to give you a yes and like that, like we're two improv comedians, okay? Because you're absolutely right that the central core reason that we're going to get back into power is by focusing everything on how we're going to improve people's lives, help them put food on the table, retire with dignity, all of that stuff that you've heard me say 1,000 times. And that is so important. At the same time, people desperately want a government and leaders who are going to fight for them. And we need to be able to articulate to them what Trump is doing and how it impacts them. Talk about how this is the most corrupt administration in history. Talk about how they're stealing from the American people.
And it's right there it's right there in front of everybody. It's right there for people to see what's happening. I mean, this is a good example, this ABC News report. And so many of these other things that are happening are the corrupt nature of them is right in front. So we do have to push all leaders on all levels, local, regional, and national. You've got to identify the corruption, the lies. It's got to be, we can't wait till October, it's November of this year, a year out from the midterms. That has to be part of the conversation right now. You as a strategist and a messenger in that space, me in my role, we have to make sure that they know that right now. I got to ask you a quick question about, as we kind of wrap up, the changes here in Illinois with Representative Schakowsky and with Senator Durbin. Big news, big shift. It's going to affect things nationally. Obviously, it's either state roles or state elected for national offices. But what are your thoughts, real quickly, in this last minute?
It's a sign of progress, right? Like I used to work for Senator Durbin. I used to run his digital fundraising program. I'm really glad to see him step aside so that we can get the next generation of Democratic leaders stepping forward in the state. Same with Jane Schakowsky. It sounds like she's going to announce her retirement today. Yep. It's going to create a lot of opportunity. It's going to give us a chance to get new fighters in there and new voices elevated. And I hope that other Democrats around the country follow suit because we have way too many folks that are just hanging on a little too long.
Yeah, agree with that. I'll leave you with this. This is one of the funniest things, and I hope I get this right, man. So give me 1 second to put my glasses back on. Oh, come on, Shu. One of the funniest things that I saw this week is this. Nothing makes me laugh harder than my 6-year-old spotting a Cybertruck and immediately going full hater mode. Ugh, that's an ugly car. I hate that thing. Completely unprompted, pure instinct. Kids got taste. And that was coming from Mike Nellis's 6-year-old.
I'm just glad somebody's reading my tweets.
I thought it was hilarious, man. I thought that was right on point, though, because I kind of feel the same way as your 6-year-old. We'll learn from our children if we listen. Mike Nellis, Democratic strategist, and just a good guy that's out here in the fight. Thanks for being with us this morning. It's always good to have you on the show, and keep up the good fight, man. I'm pushing on that other side of the lever just like you are.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Richard.
All right. Talk to you soon. Have a good rest of the day. Bye now.
You too.
Yeah, I saw that, guys, and I just cracked up laughing. His 6-year-old was like, that's an ugly thing. Oh, my goodness. Devin, it's almost there. We have got to squeeze in, folks, really quickly. Donna, you got a minute, maybe. Go for it. How are you?
Richard, let me tell you, dismantling the Department of Education is just the beginning. This man is so bitter, angry, insecure, revengeful. What he's doing right now, he's going around the country and dismantling all the sources of information and education. That's why he's going after the museum, public television, public radio, everything. What he wants everybody to be dumb and stupid so they don't know what's going on.
Right.
We actually somebody needs to put together a list of the real people that are behind Trump so we really know whose agenda he's actually carrying out. Because this is not really Donald Trump.
It's Project 2025. I mean, Donna, to dive in with you, it's the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025. It's the list of uber wealthy companies and their leaders and billionaires that are running. That's who's puppeting Donald Trump right now. So,
I know that. I want names, actual names of people.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you what I'll do.
That's what we need.
Yeah, no, and I'm partnering with you on this because of the shortness of time. I will go back to my files and pull out my information on Project 2025 and Heritage Foundation. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll start to break that down for you. Is that okay?
Send you an email, too, because I got a whole lot more that I wanted to say, but I'm going to say it in the email, and then you can summarize it on another day.
And you can call back. All right, Donna, thanks for calling in today. All right, dude, have a good day. Bye-bye. Real quickly, Steve, got a minute, man. Hit us with it.
Hey,
in there, Miss Richard. It was good seeing you at the WCP ceremony, and I just want to call and say it was great. It just shows unity and touching bases with folks. And let me say, I'm impressed with you. My man Richard actually was able to find a woman as tall as him. So kudos out to you.
Well, I humbly and respectfully say this. My wife is actually a little bit taller than me, and that's that's not just her physical stature. That's who she is as a human being. I unapologetically, proudly say I love and am in love with my wife. She is the star of my life, and you probably could see that on Saturday.
She's beautiful, tall. Did you play basketball, or was she a volleyball player, an athlete? Oh, she's tall.
No, neither. Not to put her personal life in the streets, but she's very athletic. That's for sure. Yeah. She's very athletic, but she didn't play volleyball or basketball. But So thank you for that. I really appreciate it, Steve. It was good to see you, man. Glad you made it out. All right, thanks, man.
Talk to you. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Yeah, I hope you guys, to kind of tie this back together, I hope you guys got my message earlier when I said that I really was. It was nice to see you guys talking to one another at our event. It was great for us, of course. But it was really more important for me to see you guys connecting with each other. That, to me, is what I believe it's a lot of it's all about. Because how many times do we hear the phrase, I feel like I'm out here on my own. I feel like I'm not connected to anyone. And a variety of different versions of that statement. And so that's what the anniversary, that was one of my big takeaways. As much as it was great to have all the folks up there on the mic and this, that, and the other, what was really the cool thing about it for me, one of the big points for me, is that you guys got to say, hey, Steve, hey, Dave from Hoffman Estates, and the list goes on. That to me, because now what you get to do, and I said this to, I think, every person that came up to me, I believe I did, and introduced themselves or said, hey, hi again, is to pass that on. Pass it on incrementally. I was talking to Mayor Johnson about this, kind of off mic. We want to be able to pass on what you're doing. So you've got to be willing to tell us this on a regular basis. He gets it. And I'm going to be working hard with him, hard with the Lieutenant Governor and all the rest of our representatives to help inspire them to be willing to pass on the message and talk about what they're doing actively, regularly. We got ammunition. We got stuff to work with, to talk to other folks about. And the connectivity that we were able to achieve with our anniversary allows us to be able to do that even more so. So I give many shout outs to you guys for being there, because I hope you were able to make some connections and be able to build on that. Wow. End of the show already. Thanks for being with us this Monday, first full week of May of 2025. Take a deep breath, y'all, and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2021.
Why are we even wrangling about the filibuster? What do you think is the appeal that makes people so afraid to cross it?
I think the problem with the filibuster and why people are afraid of changing it